Hello everyone. In this early clinical exposure, we'll try to learn about the micturition disorders and renal failure, wherein we will be discussing two cases, one of renal failure and another one of micturition disorder. The first case is a patient is a 41-year male who has a long-standing history of hypertension and diabetes and presents with a complaint of pruritus, lethargy, lower extremity edema, nausea, and emesis. He denies any other medical illnesses. On physical exam, the patient is well developed, well nourished, male in moderate distress. Blood pressure is 180 by 110 mmHg. Pulse is 80. Respiration is 24 and he is febrile. The body weight is 76.5 kg. The remainder of the exam was remarkable for 2 plus lower extremity edema and the superficial excoriation of the skin from scratching. His hemoglobin was 8.6, slightly anemic. The blood urea nitrogen was 170 milligrams per deciliter, it's very high. Creatinine is also 16 milligrams per deciliter, which is very high. And 24-hour urine protein and creatinine, where the volume was 850, urine protein was 600 milligrams per deciliter, and creatinine was 180 milligrams per deciliter. And renal ultrasound showed the right kidney 9 into 6 centimeter, left kidney 9.2 into 5.8 centimeter, and both the kidneys illustrate the hyperechogenicity and no hydronephrosis. Okay. So these are some of the questions which are related to the case study. What are the possibilities for his lower extremity edema? Probably this case is a case of renal failure. Okay. So the edema is due to because of the renal failure. Okay. So there can be various reasons for the pedal edema, extremity edema. So the first cause could be the congestive heart failure, because of which probably the person has developed hypoperfusion of the kidney, and then because that has led to the acute renal failure. And probably his renal diseases where there will be the loss of albumin from the kidney. Okay. So hypoalbuminuria might would have uh, led to this edema formation. So these are the two possibilities for the lower extremity edema. The second question is the cause of this patient's renal failure is acute or chronic. How did you arrive at this conclusion? Okay. So here the patient is 41-year-old and he has a long-standing hypertension and diabetes. Probably that could have led to the renal disease. Uh, Another point is in favor of acute renal failure, the urea creatinine levels they increase suddenly. Okay, whereas in a chronic renal failure, urea creatinine levels they gradually increase. Okay, so probably this is acute over in a chronic renal failure. There is a acute onset. Okay, so what is the calculated GFR? Okay, so GFR can be calculated using the formula clearance of creatinine is equal to UV divided by P. Okay, so where the U is urine volume, urine concentration of the creatinine, uh, whereas V is volume of urine and P is plasma concentration of creatinine. Okay, so if we can calculate the clearance of the creatinine, okay, so we can be able to calculate the GFR and assess the functioning of the kidney. Okay, so what is the most likely cause of anemia in this patient? Okay. So usually in renal diseases, uh, the erythropoietin synthesis get affected because of the renal parenchymal involvement. So they will not be able to produce enough amount of erythropoietin, and that will lead to a condition called as anemia, and that should be a chronic process. Usually in acute renal failure, anemia is less seen. Okay, so that is how, when based on the involvement of the other endocrine functions of the kidney, we can say that the person is suffering from renal failure from quite past. Okay, so answer for the first question is congestive cardiac failure. Okay, so that could be the cause of the renal failure. Okay, so later hypoalbuminemia, water retention from the renal failure. Okay, so these are the three causes for retention, uh, edema formation. Okay, so how do you, for the second question, whether it was acute or chronic. In acute, there will be short duration and there will be rapid rise in urea and creatinine levels. Okay, whereas to say it is a chronic disease, long duration of urea and creatinine elevation, hemoglobin will be low, and if you measure some of the endocrine functions, so they will also be affected. The endocrine function of the kidney, the hormones related to the which are which require the kidney uh, for their regulation. Okay, where the calcium parathormone levels get disturbed because of the chronic renal failure. Okay, so this is how we have calculated the clearance of the creatinine here, which is going to be equal to the GFR. But if you see the GFR of his kidney, it is just 6.6 ml per minute. Okay, so which is very low. Okay, so when the GFR levels will be, creatinine clearance is less than 30 ml per minute. Okay, so that we call it as a chronic renal failure. Okay, and it is pretty much less than that, where he requires urgent dialysis. Okay, and anemia uh, is because of the decreased erythropoietin levels. Okay, so so here it will be typically normochromic and normocytic type of anemia. So renal failure is a condition of a diseased uh, urine output due to loss of renal function that develops over a period of days to years. So this is of two types: acute kidney injury or acute renal failure, or chronic renal failure. Acute kidney injury was always previously known as acute renal failure, and the other term is also used is azotemia. Acute renal injury refers to sudden but usually reversible deterioration in renal function that develops over a period of hours and few days, and usually accompanied by reduction in the urine volume. Acute kidney injury includes an increase in the serum creatinine more than 0.3 grams per deciliter within 48, or increase in more than 1.5 times the presumed baseline value, or presumed to have occurred within prior 7 days, or decrease in urine volume less than 3 ml per kg over a period of 6 hours. So these are the some of the causes for acute renal failure. Okay, so you can divide them into pre-renal causes, renal causes, and post-renal causes. The pre-renal causes are systemic causes are heart failure, and the acute blood loss or fluid loss because of dehydration or the traumatic uh, trauma. Okay, so then local causes, the sudden renal artery stenosis, hypoperfusion of the kidney. Okay, uh, so then renal causes were acute tubular necrosis, the parenchymal disease because of the toxic and septic failure, glomerular disease, glomerulonephritis, interstitial kidney diseases. Okay, so then post-renals could be obstruction to the urine outflow, where it can occur because of the kidney stones, kidney tumors, and prostatic enlargement. Features of acute renal failure. Patient is usually oliguria. 24-hour urine volume is less than 500 ml. Okay. So hyperkalemia is common here. I mean, in any renal disease, dilutional hyponatremia and metabolic acidosis may be present. Hypocalcemia is common due to the decreased production of 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol. Uremic features include like anorexia, nausea, vomiting, apathy, confusion and muscle twitching, hiccups, convulsion and coma. Pulmonary edema may be present due to the increased pulmonary capillary permeability. Anemia is common. Bleeding may occur due to the platelet dysfunction or disturbances in the coagulation cascade, and spontaneous GI hemorrhage is not uncommon. How do you treat acute renal failure? Emergency resuscitation and follow-up treatment include the treatment of hyperkalemia, okay, so which is treated immediately to prevent development of life-threatening cardiac arrhythmias. Okay, so calcium gluconate 10 ml of 10% solution is given IV to stabilize the membrane potential. Okay, so insulin and glucose solution, 5 units of insulin plus 50 ml of 50% glucose is injected uh, IV along the sodium bicarbonate. Okay, so insulin is going to cause the movement of potassium inside the cell. Okay, and that is how it is going to reduce the, it is effectively treated in hyperkalemia. So soda bicarb prevents cirrhosis, and dialysis may be needed in extreme cases, where the case we had discussed where the urine output was less than 6 ml per minute. Circulating volume should be optimized for pre-renal ARF. Hypovolemia is treated with the rapid infusion of blood or plasma or isotonic saline, and the central venous pressure should be monitored regularly. Metabolic acidosis is corrected by isotonic sodium bicarbonate infusion. Fluid and electrolyte balance is monitored after initial resuscitation. Fluid intake should be equal to the urine output. Okay. So the treatment of underlying cause includes treatment of acute tubular necrosis or surgical removal of obstruction in case of post-renal acute renal failure. Okay. So infection should be, if at all, it should be controlled promptly. Renal replacement therapy includes intermittent hemodialysis, hemofiltration, intermittent hemodiafiltration, or peritoneal dialysis can be thought of. The renal placement therapy considered if the severe uremia, hyperkalemia, and metabolic acidosis. Chronic renal failure refers to the irreversible deterioration in the renal function that develops over a period of years. Initially, it manifests as only biochemical abnormality, but eventually, loss of endocrine, metabolic, and excretory function of kidney leads to the development of signs and symptoms of renal failure, which are referred as uremia. When the death is likely without the renal replacement therapy, so it is called as end stage renal failure. The causes of chronic renal failure, it is caused by any condition that destroys the structure and functions of the kidney. Presently, the commonest cause of CRF, chronic renal failure, are diabetes mellitus and hypertension. Disturbance in water, electrolyte, and acid-base balance contribute to the clinical features of chronic renal failure. Uremia is caused by accumulation of many intermediary products metabolism are called as uremic toxins. The causes of chronic renal failure are the diabetes mellitus, hypertension, glomerular diseases like IgA nephropathy, renal interstitial diseases, renal artery stenosis, congenital and inherited disease like polycystic kidney disease and Alport syndrome, systemic inflammatory disease like SLE and vasculitis. Features of chronic failure are mainly the raised blood urea and serum creatinine during routine investigation or the patients of diabetes, hypertension, proteinuria, and anemia. Okay. So, unless GFR below 30 ml per minute, patients remain asymptomatic. The doxuria occurs due to the loss of concentrating ability of kidney and increased osmotic load on the nephron. Tiredness and breathlessness are very common. The end-stage renal failure patients appears ill, anemic, and may show signs of sodium and water retention. That is presence of edema. They present with anorexia, nausea, vomiting, hiccup, pruritus, muscular twitching, fits, and drowsiness. Features of metabolic acidosis such as Kussmaul's respiration may also be present. How do you treat chronic renal failure? It consists of mainly the identifying of the renal disease, identifying the precipitating factors, and preventing further damage to the renal tissue. Diabetes, hypertension, anemia are promptly treated, fluid and electro balance are maintained, metabolic acidosis corrected, and renal replacement is instituted. The second case with micturition disorder, the case studies as follows. A 31-year-old man sustained T2 spinal cord injury. He is wheelchair bound and he has been emptying his bladder spontaneously. He complains of recurrent UTI and urinary leakage. He is not on any medication. Okay. So, what is the likely type of injury that he has sustained? So, he has a spinal injury. Basically, it will be total, if we consider total spinal section, so he must be suffering from paraplegia. He's a paraplegia probably because the lesion is below the upper limb, okay, and uh, and it is the upper motor neuron type of lesion. Okay. So what is the type of bladder dysfunction he will have? Okay. So usually with the upper motor neuron lesion, we will have automatic bladder. Okay. So initially, in the initial stage, there will be neurogenic bladder, where gradually when it recovers, so we'll have automatic bladder. That is, the bladder automatically gets filled, and without the awareness, the urine gets evacuated automatically. Okay, that is called as automatic bladder. Okay, and what is the dextrosor sphincter synergia? Okay, so that we are going to see. Okay. So the answer for first question is that he has sustained upper motor neuron lesion type of injury with a reflex bladder voiding and dextrosor sphincter dyssynergia and poorly sustained bladder contractions. Okay. So as I told, this type of bladder is called as automatic bladder. Okay. So sphincter dyssynergia is nothing but the involuntary contraction of the urethral and periurethral striated muscles simultaneously with the dextrosor contraction. Okay, and this specific to the supraconal neurological disorder or the upper motor neuron disorder. So, what are the different abnormalities of micturition? The lesions at different segments of neuraxis results in bladder dysfunction. There are three major neural defects that produce bladder dysfunction. One is interruption of the afferent fibers, which is called as deafferentiation. Interruption of both afferent and efferent fibers, so which is called as denervation, and interruption of influences from the facilitatory and inhibitory centers from the brain, that is spinal cord in transection. Okay, so that happens. Okay, so neurogenic bladder can be of 5 types. The uninhibited, reflex type, autonomous, motor paralytic, and sensory paralytic type of neurogenic bladders. So before that, we should know some of the nomenclatures. We should know what is urgency, what is urge incontinence, and what is retention bladder. Okay, so urgency is the complaint of a sudden and compelling desire to pass urine that is difficult to defer. Okay. And urge continence is the complaint of involuntary leakage accompanied by the urgency. Okay, so leakage may be range from drops to soaking. The retention of bladder is unable to empty itself to a point that where there is over more than 100 cc urine of urine left over in the bladder after urinating. So that is called as, post void urine. Okay, so if it is more than 100 ml, okay, so it is called as retention bladder. Uninhibited bladder, where there is excessive urge of urination without bladder being filled. The lesion affecting the second frontal gyrus and the pathway leading from it down to the pontine centers. Okay, so in conditions like frontal lobe tumor, parasagittal meningiomas, anterior communicating aneurysms, the normal pressure hydrocephalus, Parkinson's disease, and multisystem atrophy, the uninhibited bladder is seen. Okay, so that occurs because of the continuous stimulation of facilitatory centers in the brain. Okay, so here urgency, as I told, occurs at low bladder volumes, so it is also called as dextrosor hyperreflexia. There is a sudden uncontrollable evacuation, there is no residual urine, and so little risk of infection. If the severe intellectual deterioration occurs because the frontal lobe is involved in intellectuality, so urine may be passed at random without appropriate consent. Spinal bladder or Yeoman type of bladder. Okay, so here the damage to spinal cord occurs because of a trauma, tumor, or multiple sclerosis. Here the fullness is not appreciated. So when intravesicular pressure increases, okay, so there can be automatic voiding. Okay, and the intravesicular pressure may be only indicated by sweating, pallor, flexor uh, spasm, and dramatic rise in the blood pressure. Reflex emptying without warning. Okay, so incomplete evacuation may improve with the practice and may be performed at will if massaged and suprapubic pressure is applied. Okay, so there will be dextrosor sphincter synergy. Okay, so there will be simultaneous contraction of the pelvic floor muscles and the sphincter, dextrosor muscle upon urination. Okay, so there will be evidence of bilateral pyramidal lesion. Okay, so that is enhanced uh, reflexes and extensor plantar responses. Okay, and the automatic bladder happens only if there is a bilateral lesion. Okay, so if it is unilateral, uh, the bladder is spared. Okay. So bladder is a small contracted and it can hold just up to just 250 ml of urine. Autonomous bladder, that is occurs because of the subsacral lesions. So there will be damage to sensory and motor components of the quada equina or pelvis. Quada equina lesions and pelvic surgery, the pelvic malignant lesions, spina bifida, and high lumbar disc lesions can lead to autonomous bladder. So MRI or myelogram is obligated to exclude the high disc lesions. So features are continuous dribbling and incontinence because of the involvement of the sensory. So the bladder distension is not perceived case, and bladder goes on distending. Considerable residual volume with high infection risk. Okay, so there is no sensation of the bladder fullness. Okay, so that is why there is a large atonic bladder. Okay, so may be associated with the perineal numbness and loss of sexual function. Sensory bladder is similar to autonomous bladder. Okay, so where anatomical explanation is uncertain, the primary problem is sensory denervation. Okay, so ultimately over distension, myogenic damage, and contractile failure. So, it can occur in tabes dorsalis, multiple sclerosis, and diabetes mellitus. Okay, so in sensory bladder, there can be massive retention of urine in liters. There will be high risk of infection. Dribbling incontinence of sufficiently large volume can occur. Voiding possible with considerable straining, but evacuation is incomplete. Paralytic bladder, which is also called as areflexic dextrosure, marked by painful distension. Okay, so there will be inability to initiate urination. So there will be difficulty in initiation of urination, straining, decreased size and force of stream, interrupted stream, and recurrent urinary tract infection are hallmark of motor uh, paralytic bladder. Some of the pharmacological methods to treat urinary retention are cholinergic agents, which are going to increase the dextrosor activity. Bethanocol improves the dextrosor function, particularly in denervation, and selectively affects the bladder and gut. Okay. So sometimes alpha adrenergic blockers can also are used, like prazosin. So inhibition of dextrosor activity has increase the functional capacity of bladder. Okay, and anticholinergics such as propantholene and anticholinergic with smooth muscle relaxing properties such as oxybutynin are going to help. So sometimes tricyclic antidepressants as imipramine with anticholinergic activity also will help in relieving in urinary continence. Thank you.